Welcome back to Mari Monday, where I answer questions that you send me on my marshmallow. Let's start off with our first question. Hi Mari, I've been streaming on and off for about 3 years and can't seem to get engagement and also can't get things going. I've used your videos to help and they have, but I just can't seem to get things going. Also, tips on character designs and stuff like that. I feel like my model's also a problem most likely. Thank you so much. Now, this one's kind of hard because I don't know what your model looks like, but some general design tips that I could possibly give are don't overcomplicate your design. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't, make things like super simple and basic. What I mean by like overcomplicating is when you're combining like multiple different concepts together, like a succubus, witch, cat, girl. That's like too many concepts. Like stick to one or maybe two. It's actually really hard to pull off two specific concepts as well. Like I see a lot of like something cat. I see a lot of people always implement cat in like their concept and it just never really clicks in with people because you got to remember like people who are watching you, they have to be able to figure out what the heck you are by looking at you. If you're supposed to be a cat girl, you got to look like a cat girl. If you're like a witchy cat, so you're like a cat but you have like a witch hat, I think that's like okay. I've also seen some like cat succubuses work too. But like something I've been seeing a lot of people, especially with like the sea creature VTubers, that they keep adding like cat or dog or something else. And like people aren't really understanding any of that when you look at their concept. So that's like a general design tip, is that when you're making your character model, make sure that the concept is pretty clear and people can understand right away what you are. Now, in terms of like can't seem to get engagement, I mean, what kind of content are you making? Are you even uploading videos or are you just live streaming? Because getting people to engage in your live stream is really hard, especially since a lot of people don't have that much time. After like COVID's been lifted, people aren't inside as much anymore. So they're not watching a lot of live streams and people are busy. So watching like a 3 to 8 hour live stream, not many people have time for that if you really think about it. I feel like live streaming should be supplementary content for you, and you should be making other types of content such as short form content or long form content, and then use your live streams as like either your recording sessions essentially or a way for you to really connect with your community. Hopefully that gives you some kind of a base to start. All right, so let's go to our next question. I've been using my IRL name in most of my projects, and now that I've discovered how much I like being a VTuber, I wanted to draw a line between my identity and my VTuber character, but I don't want to start from scratch either. How can I keep my audience while rebranding to a new character? Ooh, that's actually really hard, especially if you have a current IRL identity. I think Cookie Swirl is a pretty good example of how that can be reviewed, because Cookie Swirl used to do a lot of IRL content and then swapped to being a VTuber, but Cookie Swirl didn't become like a completely new character and identity. Because her name was Cookie Swirl, it's a little bit easier to get into that swap between the persona. But if you've been using like your IRL name, which I really don't recommend using your IRL name for content creation because of like doxing and stalking and like just for safety reasons. So you do have the option to just make an OC, like be a VTuber, just have that be your OC with like your name. Or you could say like, hey, this is like my OC, her name is blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna be making content as her or him, whatever like your pronouns are. I think someone who implemented this really well is Gina Ninja, because they used to have like their own OC that represented like them, and then they swapped over to like their character and they literally just made a video kind of talking about it. So maybe it's something that you could talk with your community about, saying, hey, I know you've known me as this persona, like this person, but now I'm going to be doing this like character. You could also do like a half and half, where some days you do VTubing stuff and some days you do IRL stuff. It just depends on your community, because you can't really follow your community if they want to leave, because the content that you're making now is not what they signed up for. Like, they don't owe you their time because you decided to make some changes about yourself. So like, it really just depends on how accepting your community is and how much work you're willing to do between making this kind of rebrand. Because chances are, if you're doing a complete rebrand, you're basically going to be starting from scratch anyways. So if you want to do like a complete rebrand, don't worry about keeping your current audience, because I mean, you're basically building a new audience entirely anyways. Sorry, I'm not trying to be like a bummer for it. I just want to give you like some kind of realistic expectations, because I've rebranded 3 times and I've lost like a lot of my community every single time I've done it. Some of them have stayed around, but like it was a much smaller percentage. So it's like I've already kind of been through this whole thing. And yeah, if you're going to rebrand, just go for it. All right, let's go to our next question. Hey Mari, newer viewer here, so my apologies if I bring up a question that's already been asked. What are the best ways to introduce lore or bring up lore? So would making comic strips be one way that it could be done? I want to focus quite a bit on lore, but don't know how to bring it up. Thank you for your time. Yeah, you could totally do comic strips. I've never seen a VTuber do like comic strip panels and then do reading and kind of like voiceover stuff for their lore, but that would be pretty unique and you could do that. There's been plenty of YouTube channels who make like comic strip type of videos and they just kind of voice over and like that's like their content. So you could totally do that. I feel like lore only really matters when people are really into your content and it's like a fun little treat to give them and for yourself. It's not like a lore will help you grow kind of thing. And I think that's what a lot of people get confused about is that like they focus so much on their lore that they don't focus about making content that people want to actually watch. Because a lot of the times you're going to get mostly casual viewers, and a lot of casual viewers don't particularly care about your lore because you're a content creator. You're not like an anime production studio. You're not a movie production studio. Like they're not there with the consensus of, oh yeah, they are making this like lore realm with all this character stuff. Maybe if you had like a D&D campaign and that was like your whole content, you had like a whole group of friends where you're all a bunch of D&D characters, then people be more like, oh yeah, I want to know the lore and the backstory, but you're just a content creator. So don't focus too much on lore. Only use lore as like a guideline or a rubric for how your character is going to talk and act and react to whatever it is that's happening to you. That's the best way I think you could bring up lore. All right, let's move on to our next question. Hello, sorry for asking. I've looked around everywhere for your links at this point, I think, but couldn't find it. Who made your models? Like, do you have some credits somewhere? I failed to find on X, YouTube, and Twitch, so I am sorry to ask here. Other than that, thank you so much for your videos and streams. Wishing good luck and lots of success in what you love. And yeah, no worries. I don't post them on Twitter anymore because the way I see social media is that people who are casual viewers of mine don't really care who my artist links are. I do have them in my highlighted section though. So if you go on like my X profile and you look at like the highlights, I have all of my model credits listed there because that's where VTubers and other content creators who want to commission the artists that I've worked with are going to actually care and look. Sponsorships and other like viewers, they don't care about any of that stuff, so there's no point in me putting that in my bio. And I also did include who made my model art on my Blue Sky post, and that is pinned. So to answer your question, the person who made this Live 2D model is Moeko Peach. Moeko does not work with indies anymore, so I haven't gotten any model updates from her in over like 2 years now. She only works with corporate VTubers, and the person who did the rigging for this model is Alice Kinnid, which I do have both of those credits linked under my YouTube live streams, and every time I use a different Live 2D model, I link those credits underneath my YouTube live streams. I thought I still had them linked on Twitch, but I must have accidentally deleted the panel for that. So thanks for letting me know, because that means I'm gonna have to go re-put those back on. I honestly didn't think anyone even checked the Twitch panels. So good on you for like noticing that and letting me know. All right, let's go to our last question. Hi Mari, I've been streaming for a few months now and I'm not sure how to improve. When I make a short or long form video, I can improve my storytelling and editing, but when I'm streaming, I don't know what to improve. I keep up my chatter, play mostly decently, and have zero idea to go from here. Any advice on what to look for in my VODs to improve on would be appreciated. Now, this is a little hard because I don't know what your channel's content is about. It would be a lot easier if I could actually look to see what you're doing. But in a general sense, it really depends on like what it is you want to get out of live streaming. Because I think a lot of like streamers who want to make it big, they have this expectation of like having a lot of people chatting and talking all at once and gifting and giving them lots of money. And if that isn't your goal, then the other thing that I could think of is, okay, do you want to just figure out how to find more interesting things to talk about, how to make more clippable moments? Because if you're saying you can keep up with your chatter and you play decently, maybe what you could improve on is the chat interaction that you're doing with your current audience. Or instead of like focusing so much about being good at the game, play the game as like a personality. Like, how can you make these clips more interesting in storytelling? Because I guess like I'm a little confused because some of the things that you're asking on here is a little too vague for me to really give like a response to, especially since like you can always improve your content. I'm always improving my content. I'm trying to figure out things that will work better for my channel. Something that I recently discovered is that people really like these chatting type of videos that I do on my main channel, and they kind of like sitting here listening to me on like their second monitor while they go to draw, or they're working on other stuff, or they're driving. So I have like kind of a podcast style channel on here, and that took me 4 years to kind of test out different video ideas, different editing styles, and figure that out. So now with my live streams, a lot of people like to listen to me on a podcast level. So I do a lot of like just chatting stuff on topics that I know my audience is interested in, because my audience is a bunch of aspiring VTubers or people who are interested in VTubing culture. So I find topics that are related to that. If you know your audience, you know how you can start improving your content. So I guess my advice to you in order to start improving your VODs is to get to know your audience a bit more, get to know the people who are watching you, look at your analytics, don't be afraid of your analytics, and figure out what they are interested in, so that way you can start making content around those interests. So hopefully that can help you. And that is all the questions for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like to submit a question for next week's video, I will leave that link down in the description down below. Yeah, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. And remember, everything reminds you of something. Bye!